Hello, Wheel of Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about this episode. A lot of fun stuff happens.
Yeah, we are really getting close to the end here.
Really are.
So before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you have read the entire series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today we're going to be discussing chapters 46 and 47 of The Great Hunt, where all hell breaks loose and we reach the climax of the story. Buckle in, there's a lot to discuss. Chapter 46 is called To Come Out of the Shadow, and the icon is the ruby-hilted dagger.
Here is a not-so-quick summary to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Nynaeve and the others can hear a commotion at the manor house across the street from the Domine buildings, but Nynaeve keeps them focused on their task. Their plan works perfectly. No one pays them any attention. The lightning bolt dress and Adam is all they notice. Seta, terrified of being discovered, acts like a perfectly trained Domine, and Min leads them up to Egwin's room. Eggs is obviously thrilled to see them and starts to ask a bunch of questions, but stops short when she recognizes Seta. The former Soldam had been one of Egwin's regular torturers, and Egg says she'd like to put her in a pot of boiling water, just one of the many things Seta did to her with the Adam. Elaine is shocked at the change in Egwin, but Eggs points out that she doesn't understand. Nynaeve takes the collar off of her and tells Egwin to put her dress on so they will get out of there. Nynaeve hangs the bracelet attached to Seta's leash on the hook and warns her that she can still make her life miserable if she thinks about raising the alarm. Egwin says they won't have to worry about that because she has figured out their dirty little secret. When Shanshan seek out girls that can channel to make them dominate, they are looking for those with the spark born in them that would eventually channel no matter what. They also test those who can be trained as Soldam, and those are the women who aren't born with the ability, but could be taught to channel. Rena comes in, and before she can react to Egwin being free, Eggs attacks her, locking the collar around her neck. Nynaeve has to pull Egwin off of Rena to stop the punishment, and Egwin collapses into her arms, sobbing about how much they hurt her and how much she hates them all. Nynaeve tells her that it's okay to hate them, but not to let them make her like they are. The girls talk about what to do with the collared Soldam and decide they deserve to die. Nynaeve says that may be true, but not to confuse revenge with justice. As wisdom, she had sat in judgment with the women's circle, and she was the one whose job it was to dispense their justice. She tells the Shanshan that since she can't free all the women they have kept as Domine, she will leave them there. If they are lucky, they might be able to figure out how to get the collars off before they are discovered. If not, then they will get a taste of their own medicine. That is justice. She herds the others out, heading to the harbor and Doman's ship. The streets are deserted except for Shanshan's soldiers marching in ranks towards them. Min notices that there are more behind them. Nynaeve says that they can go around, but Egwin freaks out that they will never take her alive and that she's going to show them a little bit of what they taught her. Before Nynaeve can stop her, she makes the ground erupt under the soldiers' feet in both directions. Next thing they know, fireballs are streaking towards them, and they have to dive out of the way. Elaine and Nynaeve are separated from the other two as they dodge more fireballs. Nynaeve is furious and starts to bring down lightning, hoping that Doman's ship is ready to go. Doman can see the lightning and fireballs from his ship. His men want to set sail before the Domine kill them all, but Doman gave his word. He silently wills the girls to hurry. Ja from Bornhold sees the lightning in the sky over Falme and dismisses it as a storm, thinking that it will hinder the Shanshan as much as him. He orders Bayer to go and then commands his legion to advance. Rand and Ingtar are trapped in a narrow alley with Matt, Perrin, and Huron down at the other end, hiding from the Shanshan soldiers. Rand is still trying to figure out how to get back to Egwin, and more, he feels different threads in the pattern of his life are in danger down in Falme. Ingtar seems lost in his own thoughts, But Rand hears him muse that one man could hold 50 soldiers in such a narrow passage, and that it was not a bad way to die. He tells Rand that he never knew what the pale little man that he let into Fal Dara was going to do until he loosed that arrow. He's still not sure if it was meant to kill Rand or the Amyrlin. He talks about how humankind is being swept away by darkness and the blight advances no matter how hard they fight against it. The Southlanders don't even believe in Trollocs or Myrddraal. Why be destroyed for people who would never know or care? Better the shadow and survive. Rand grabs him and tells him he's talking crazy, refusing to believe what he was saying. Ingtar tells him that Rand is a better man than he is, and that he was only thinking of his own salvation. He wanted to lead the heroes of the Horn against Shale Ghul, and that would be enough to save him from what he's done. Devastated, Rand tells him that maybe wanting to repent is enough. Ingtar tells him that a price must be paid, and he wants to pay it here. Huron comes running up the alley to say that there's an opening and they have to go. Ingtar tells Rand to take the horn and that all he ever wanted was to save Shienar from being swept away and forgotten. Rand gives Ingtar the Shienarian benediction, asking that the last embrace of the mother welcome him home. Ingtar thanks him, finally at peace, and turns to face the army. Huron is shocked and protests, but Rand tells him that Ingtar does what he must, and they leave him to fight the Seanchan as they escape.
This chapter picks right up on the tension of the last one and just keeps going. Nynaeve marches right into the heart of the Domine holding house, not knowing what they will face, knowing that if they get caught, they're going to be put on leashes if things don't go as they're planned. There's a lot at stake here, and yet she just shuts all the distractions down and focuses on the mission.
So I'd really like to know, why are all these women wishing and hoping for Rand?
Yeah.
Rand is such an idiot most of the time that he's barely functional. Okay, that might be a little harsh, but seriously, what is Rand going to do? Like, most of his victories in the last few books are pure luck. Like, most of the time, he's lost in confusion or so distracted by his emotional drama that he can't process what's going on around him. How is that helpful?
It's not.
He really could have used more time with Nynaeve telling him to get his shit together, like the girls, like she does with the girls, you know?
Right.
But regardless, he can't do anything for them that they can't do for themselves, you know?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Egwene is a little scary with her wish to boil Seta alive.
Yeah.
But it's not unwarranted.
No.
Like, she has been tortured for weeks. She's a changed person after this, and there's no going back.
Yeah, that's pretty clear when Egwene attacks Rhenna.
Yeah.
I don't know what she does to Rhenna through the Adam, but I think it's fair to guess that it's pretty severe. And while Rhenna deserves to get back all the pain she doled out to Egwene, and I'd even say that Egwene deserves to see her suffer, Nynaeve is right to stop Egwene. As desperately as Egwene wants to get back at Rhenna, and how satisfying it is to see her collared, what Nynaeve says is totally right. Egwene tells her how much she hates the Soldam for hurting her. And Nynaeve says it's all right to hate them, but it isn't all right to let them make you like they are. There's no way Egwene can't be changed by this experience, but she doesn't have to let it ruin her.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to let her pain twist her into something ugly. Because if she does, then collar or no, she'll never be free of the Seanchan. And I think that's what Nynaeve is trying to tell her.
Yeah, it's really hard to articulate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When the girls are trying to figure out what to do with Rhenna and Seta, what is up with Elaine being all, Rand would kill someone who would do something like that? I'm sure he would. Like, I'm not sure why he matters here. I'll be very happy to see Elaine develop a little more and not base her judgments and decisions on what some man has to do for her.
Yeah, definitely. So I love the part about the difference between revenge and justice. We've talked a little about this in previous episodes, but I think it's hard, not just for men, as is implied here, but for people in general, to tell the difference sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the girls aren't wrong when they say that the former Soldam deserved to die. But that does not mean that Egwene or the others have the right to kill them.
Right.
I also like where Nynaeve's thinking about her days in Emond's Field and how the women's circle gave mercy where it was deserved, but justice always. And it was the wisdom who pronounced it. I like that Jordan pointed out that you can have both mercy and justice together when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
That mercy doesn't somehow cancel justice out, you know?
Which is it's a tricky road to walk sometimes.
It is. It really, really is. And I mean, I want to say, didn't a similar sentiment come up in Lord of the Rings? Like, I remember Gandalf, this might just be the movie. Let's be fair, I didn't read the books. But Gandalf is talking to Frodo about mercy in regards to Gollum.
Yeah.
That mercy is what stilled Bilbo's hand from killing him in the first place.
Yes.
And he might somehow have some part to play. I don't know. I feel like that idea of justice and mercy and revenge and whether it's okay to kill someone who deserves to die it's something that comes up a lot in fiction because it's such a difficult concept to grasp and a difficult road to walk, you know?
Yeah.
There are very fine lines between them, and it's hard to figure out if what you're doling out is revenge or justice.
Yeah. And we'll have more opportunity to talk about this as the series goes on, too, because there's a lot more examples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good writing. I'm 100% on board with what Nynaeve does to both Rena and Seta. Like, I think justice has been served here, but justice is sometimes hard to serve out. I think the reason Nynaeve has to harden her heart is not because she has doubts that what she's doing is right. I think it's because she still sees Seta and Rena as human beings, that she is possibly doomed to a life of the same slavery that we've been ranting about over the last couple episodes. Do you think this was justice?
I do.
Okay.
I think Rena and Seta getting a taste of their own medicine and firsthand knowledge of how vile the Adam are is justice.
Okay.
I mean, for all the crap they spout about training and it being for Adame's own good, they are terrified of being colored.
They certainly
So
are.
deep down, they already know that it's a load of bull, you know? And as guilty as Nynaeve feels about leaving any woman to this fate, it's the first step in making a real change by letting the secret that Soldum can channel get discovered, you know?
True. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I actually don't love the way the series ends as far as Domine and the Shanshin and whatever. But, I mean, there is some change. It's baby steps. And, you know, this kind of change takes a long time to really make a difference. And, you know, the rest of the series, I think the series as a whole is only like, what, another year or two?
I think so, yeah.
Randland time?
I believe so.
So it's unreasonable to think that the whole Soldam Domine structure, like the basis of the Shanshin Empire,
can just be dismantled in a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that's going to happen. But I do think it's the first step, you know, and it takes a long time for something that's so deeply ingrained to be confronted and then accepted. But I mean, if Nynaeve had not left Rena and Seta to be discovered, the secret would have never gotten out. And just look how long it takes because of all the cover-ups and stuff, you know?
Right. Because they do cover it up.
Yeah. But I do think that as horrible as Nynaeve feels, this was the right thing to do. This was justice. This was not mercy, but this was justice.
Okay. I'm on board with that assessment.
Yeah. Because, like, Nynaeve doesn't say that you have to use mercy every time.
Oh,
it's
right.
mercy when it's appropriate.
When appropriate.
And it's not really appropriate in this
not
situation.
Appropriate here. Nope.
Okay, so I know that Egwene is suffering from some serious PTSD right now and is not thinking clearly. But I can't help but want to smack her for being so reckless and blowing up the street around the soldiers.
Yeah.
They could have gotten away without incident, But with Egwene causing explosions left and right,
Yeah.
they have no choice but to fight. And I mean, I love the way it ends, that like badass line of Nynaeve being furious and like bringing down lightning. Like, that's awesome.
That is very cool.
But like, they could have gotten away.
Scot-free. They were almost there.
Yeah, Doman was waiting for them. As long as he possibly could.
You know you're getting to the end of a Robert Jordan book when you start to jump back and forth between perspectives in the same chapter.
Right.
Like, we go from Nynaeve to Bail Doman to Bornhold and then finally to Rand. And all in the same space of just a few pages. Like, I really like how this makes it feel like all these lines are starting to converge and we're about to see something really epic happen. We get this bit where Rand is reflecting on his feeling that pieces of his life were in danger. And I bring it up because I really can't remember him having a moment like this again in the series. Yes, we get times where he feels guilty for using people like tools or sad at the possibility of losing someone, but not like we see here while he's thinking about Egwene. The book says, and if those threads were destroyed, his life would never be complete, the way that it was meant to be. He did not understand it, but the feeling was sure and certain. Am I reading too much into this? It just stood out as odd to me this time around.
Well, the threads he's feeling that are in danger are Elaine and Min, because he only knows about Egwene.
Right.
But they're down there too. But I agree, Jordan really toned down the mysticism in later books.
Yeah.
Rand's spidey sense is in hyperdrive here, and we don't really see that happen for most of the series. You know?
Yeah, we don't. Like, it definitely goes to more of a logical rule instead of like like you said, a spidey sense or a Randy sense. No, not Randy sense. No, strike that. Never mind.
No.
Definitely not Randy senses.
Wow. Okay, moving on.
So we get confirmation that Ingtar let the Gray Man into the keep, who almost killed Rand.
Yeah.
We finally understand why he is so desperate to get the horn. If he blows it and leads a charge against the Dark One with the heroes of legend at his side, he hopes to balance the scales against the bad things that he's done in joining the dark side. Because he realizes that Rand was willing to abandon the horn to make sure Mat and Egwene were safe, Ingtar is forced to face the fact that Rand is the better person to blow the horn. Rand does not care about the horn and its glory. He's just trying to help people. Ingtar's quest for the horn has been all about him getting redemption for his own soul.
Yeah.
I get that he chose to become a dark friend and that it's his own fault. But this realization that he is powerless to fix the situation is really sad.
Yeah.
And he sees the only way out is to give up his life by fighting the Shanshan enemies. He says that a price must be paid, and that's the part that he's been missing the whole time that he's been obsessed with the horn. So it's interesting to see his whole thing coalesce like that.
Rand gives Ingtar the Shannarian benediction in the end.
Yeah.
The book says, quote, "The light shine on you, Lord Ingtar of House Shanoa, and may you shelter in the palm of the Creator's hand." He touched Ingtar's shoulder. "The last embrace of the mother welcome you home." "Thank you," Ingtar said softly. A tension seemed to go out of him. For the first time since the night of the Trolloc raid on Faldara, he stood as he had when Rand first saw him, confident and relaxed, content. So Ingtar feels forgiven at this point, and he's about to sacrifice himself. And Rand obviously meant that for him by giving him the blessing.
Right.
So do you think that Ingtar is redeemed? The saying goes that no man can walk so long in the shadow that he cannot come back to the light. Do you agree with Rand that this was enough?
Oh, this is probably the closest thing to religion we actually get in the Wheel of Time. Like this,
Yeah, kind of.
because the whole idea of redemption and the price to be paid, and
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I do think the key difference here, because we've talked a lot about how just finding the horn isn't enough.
right,
The key difference here is that he finally realizes that a price needs to be paid, and he has to pay it. And I agree with you. Like, that is the key difference. Like, that's the part he's been missing.
right,
So I guess for me, because of his original reasons of joining the dark side, it wasn't for his own ambition. It was to save Shinar.
Yeah.
He made some very, very bad decisions, and they were deadly decisions. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like him sacrificing his life here is enough. I do actually think that he does get redeemed.
Yeah, because his actions in joining the dark side weren't completely selfishly motivated. Mm-hmm. So, but he chose to do things that he knew was wrong. Mm-hmm. So he sacrifices himself to save others, including Rand, who is possibly the person, his action of letting that person into the keep of Feldara, it's possibly directly Rand's life that was supposed to be taken. We know it is, but he thinks it might be. Mm-hmm. So he's taking this action to save Rand's life. It's almost, in his mind, like a complete...
Like a 1-for-1.
Yeah, it's almost a 1-for-1. And he's going down heroic and not just saving Rand's life, but others with him. So I can see how he would be justifying that this balances the scales. Mm-hmm. And I think it does too. I'm reluctant to actually say, yes, this gives him whatever form of salvation you earn in this world, because that's never really discussed. But I do think this balances the scales.
Yeah, I think so. And Rand obviously thinks so.
Yeah, Rand definitely believes. I mean, he gives him the benediction for that reason.
Yeah.
And tells Huron later that, he's got to do what he's got to do. Mm-hmm. This is his thing. We need to let him do his thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That wraps up chapter 46. But before we get to chapter 47, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru is brought to you by a musical interlude.
Is she in the sky with dragons? Is she in the sky with dragons? Is she in the sky with dragons? Over fall May. Chapter 47 is called The Grave is No Bar to My Call, and the icon is the horn.
Mat and Perrin are mounted and ready to ride by the time Rand and Huron catch up to them. Rand can hear Ingtar's battle cry of the light and Shanoa and the clash of steel on steel behind him. They want to help him, but Rand tells them that he is sacrificing himself so that they can get away. They start to ride off, but Rand stops suddenly. He tells them that they should take the horn and the dagger to Varen, but he needs to go back and rescue Egwene. They argue about it, saying that they will all drop the horn off and then save Egwene together. But Rand points out that Mat doesn't have the time. He has to get the dagger to Tar Valon to be healed before it's too late. While they are still arguing, Perrin notices that the entire Shanshin army, complete with the Domine and monstrous creatures, is advancing from Falme toward them. Huron points out that they can't go on either because he spots the army of White Cloaks coming from the opposite direction. They have a second of relief that the two forces are aimed at each other and not them, but the reality sinks in that they're about to get pinched between them, and either side could kill them even without seeing the horn. Rand is so obsessed with the urgency to go back for Egwene that he can barely process what's happening around him. Not sure what else to do, Mat points out that while the horn has to be there for the last battle, no one said it couldn't be used before that. No one has any better ideas, so Mat sounds the horn and a fog begins to rise, blanketing the ground like clouds. Bornhald hears the horn and sees the fog rising. He figures that it is a Shanshin trick and commands the Legion to charge. His only regret is that Bayer won't be able to see clearly and tell his son how he died. Rand and the others are surrounded by fog, but they can see clearly through it. The view is all wonky, though. Rand sees Falme with the Shanshin hordes fighting below him, but he also sees Falme with the White Cloaks fighting above him. He can see to the harbor and recognizes Bail Doman anxiously waiting on his ship. Then, through the fog, came men and women on horses, dressed in clothes from every age, the heroes of the Horn. They were a little more than 100. Mat asks if this is all of them, and Arter Hawkwing answers that it takes more than just bravery to bind someone to the Horn, to be spun out again and again to work the will of the pattern. He calls Rand Luce Theron, and tells him that he would know if he could remember his previous lives. Rand tells them about the Shanshan invaders and that there's a girl that needs to be saved, and Brigitte Silverbow teases him about his troublesome women. Rand is tense and tells him that there isn't much time, but the heroes are all pretty chill, telling him that they have nothing but time. The heroes ready themselves for battle like it ain't no thing, and Hawkwing tells Rand that they have fought together countless times before, and they will take care of these invaders. He asks Rand if he has the banner, because they can't ride without it, so Rand pulls out the dragon banner. The pattern weaves itself around our necks like halters, Otter Hawkwing said. You are here, the banner is here. The weave of this moment is set. We have come to the horn, but we must follow the banner and the dragon. Perrin chops a branch off a nearby tree and ties the banner to it. Hawkwing commands Matt to sound the horn again, and Perrin, the bannerman, to lead the advance. They charge, and the fog thickens, so Rand could only see his friends clearly. Huron crouched low in his saddle, wide-eyed, urging his horse on. Matt sounding the horn and laughing between. Perrin, his yellow eyes glowing, the dragon banner streaming behind him. Then they were gone too, and Rand rode on alone. Suddenly, Balsamund stood before him, arms wide, and Rand is thrown from his horse. Rand tells him that he's not here for him, and Balsamund asks if it's about the girl, then mockingly asks which one. They start to duel, and it's Is she in the sky with dragons? Honestly, y'all, just go read the book. Rand battles Ishamael/Balsamund in the sky above and below Falme because of magical reasons that I do not understand and can't explain. It's really cool, but I can't summarize it. Rand flashes back to the beginning of the book when Lan explained that there could come a time when he would want something more than his life and it would be time to sheathe the sword in his body. Rand takes the first position of Heron waiting in the rushes. I told you in the last episode to remember it. Balanced on one foot, sword raised high, open and defenseless. Balsamund strikes and pierces Rand's side. But at the same time, Rand strikes home with the heron-marked sword, stabbing Balsamund in the heart, and his world exploded with fire.
Rand has finally accomplished what he set out to do. They found the dagger and the horn, and once Matt and the horn have gotten back to Varen, Rand assumes everything will be finished. But he feels something mystical pulling him back to Falme because threads of his life are in danger and he will not be complete without them. He tells his friends that he can't leave Egwene, collared by the Shanshan, but he has a duty to them as well, and he wants to make sure that Matt gets that dagger to Varen as soon as possible because he's running out of time. Dagger Matt may not be a joy to have around, but even he isn't willing to walk away from Egwene once he knows that Rand saw her. He hasn't lost all sense of who he is, even though the dagger is killing him.
So Matt is a total scamp, even with the dagger eating holes through his brain like Swiss cheese.
Right?
So of course he sees the loophole. Yes, the horn needs to be there for the last battle, but no one says they can't use it before then. So heedless of the consequences, Matt blows the horn.
Matt is probably an incarnation of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay.
A loophole.
So can we just talk about how Rand is so distracted by saving Egwene that he's basically useless right now?
Yeah.
This is what I was talking about earlier. He's not processing what's happening around him. He just has obsessive thoughts about how he has to go back and save her.
Uh-huh.
How is panicking and running around like a chicken with its head cut off helping anyone?
Yeah.
Like, Rand gets much more proactive and capable in book 4. But this early Rand is practically helpless. The only reason he's not dead yet is because he's the main character and Jordan couldn't kill him.
Yeah, he's kind of going back and forth right now. Like, he just left Ingtar there fighting these people off to, like, buy them time. And now he's like, oh, wait. Okay, you guys go on. I gotta go back. It's like,
well, and it's not even that. Like, all I can think of is I have to go back. They're in danger. My threads are in danger. I have to go back. Something's pulling me. Like, they're trying to have a conversation and make a plan to figure out what to do. And all he's thinking about is, Egwene's in danger. Oh, I have to save her. Oh, I'm such a crappy person. Oh, I gotta go back. Like, he's not even listening. He's not participating in the conversation.
Nothing productive to help build a plan to go back. Yeah.
He's losing his freaking mind. And it's like, dude, that is not helpful. You're not helping anyone. You're not helping Egwene. You're not helping Matt. You're not helping yourself. Like, he's useless.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, seriously, look at what he actually does in the first 3 books. With the exception of some really cool sword fighting, nothing he does is useful. Every victory he has is luck.
True. Or like some kind of
Magic.
gestalt moment, like where he like Louis Theron kind of like takes over a little bit. Like
Yeah. Or it's just plain straight up magical phlebotomy. Like he wins for reasons, you know? He wins because he's the main character.
True.
But like until book 4, like basically until he breaks into the Stone of Tyr and gets Calendar.
Yep.
He doesn't do anything that's actually useful of his own accord.
Right.
He's either riding on the backs of others or he's just winning by blind luck.
Yeah, well, just like the perfect example is that scene in Carrion when he just throws all the stuff and all the letters in the fire, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to later on when he's making the plans within the plans to like get like nobles all set up and like the people who like are against him, he kind of puts them all together.
Yeah, he becomes a really good strategic mind. I mean, he's no Tom, but he does pretty good in the future.
Yeah, it's just and it's so frustrating to see him like you said, useless here because later on he's not like that.
And I mean, he's just a farm boy. Like I'm not saying that he has to go from like a shepherd to a battle general in a day, but like. He's panicking. He's like in an obsessive thought spiral.
Yeah.
And that is not helpful, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even an obsessive thought spiral or it's not panicking about what's actually happening. It's panicking about the weird magic, whatever he's feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't blame Huron or Perrin or Matt for panicking about being pinched between 2 huge armies.
That makes sense.
Because that makes sense. It's applicable to what is happening around them at the moment. And if Rand was freaking out about the armies, that'd be fine. But he's not. He's freaking about his lost lady love and how he has to go save her because he's a hero and no one can possibly do it besides him. You know what I mean? It's like, Rand bothers me. Like, just... I'm really looking forward to Rand growing up a little bit. You know, I think the theme for the Great Hunt is I'm looking forward to all of them growing up a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Anyway, I'll stop ranting about how useless Rand is. Next.
So we get to the start of one of the most confusing sections of writing in the whole series, except for possibly the all caps section at the end of the Eye of the World.
Yeah.
What's with the confusing endings, Jordan?
Right?
The fog is so thick and billowy around them, but Rand can still see clearly through it. They seem to be floating in a in-between place where the rules of time and space don't apply. Mm-hmm. Rand sees Falme below him where all the Shanshan ranks are, and lightning ripping the sky apart. But he also sees Falme floating above him where the White Cloak Legion is charging and the earth is exploding around them in fire. He can also see the harbor and Bail Doman in that floating version of the city. This makes absolutely no sense and doesn't happen again in the series ever. This ending definitely falls under the category of hand-wavy nonsense, and as we like to call it. Future endings follow rules better, but he was still setting up his world in these first few books, and this was a free-for-all. The heroes arriving is kind of cool, though. I like that there's a hodgepodge of people from all time periods. And the description of Arthur Hawkwing and his sword named Justice is a nice nod to King Arthur and Excalibur.
Mm-hmm. I love that when Hawkwing says it takes more than bravery to bind a man to the horn, Birgitte cuts in with, or a woman. I also love when Rand mentions Egwene. The book says, quote, to his surprise, several of the small host behind Arthur Hawkwing chuckled, and Birgitte, testing her bowstring, laughed. You always choose women who cause you trouble, Lews Theron. It had a fond sound, as between old friends, end quote. They're all pretty chill. It's like a reunion of old frat buddies or something. It's not what I expected from the Heroes of the Horn, but it's really cool.
It is. Rand is still denying it, but Hawkwing tells him that he's Lews Theron, the Dragon Reborn, a few times in this scene.
Yeah.
This is where Huron finds out Rand's secret, and where the other boys accept that it's the truth. Mm-hmm. And just like in the last book, all Matt can say is, burn me.
Of course.
The rules of the Horn, they confuse me.
Yeah.
Whoever blows the horn is the one that commands the heroes. However, here they seem to need the dragon banner in order to ride out, but this does not happen later in the series. Mm-hmm. And the heroes seem to think that Rand/LTT is in charge of the fighting because Hawkwing says, with your permission, to Rand. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get that either, because that's definitely not how it plays out in the last battle.
No, it's not.
I love when Rand tells Huron to stay behind. Huron says that he doesn't understand what's going on, but he's come this far, and he'll see it through. And then Hawkwing tells him, sometimes the wheel adds to our number, friend. Perhaps you will find yourself among us one day. That moment just makes my heart swell.
Yeah.
Like, Huron gets shafted more often than not in this series. But
yes, he does.
This just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Aww. I also love that when they charge, Matt is blowing the horn like a madman and laughing his head off. Like, leave it to Matt to be having the time of his life while everyone else is trying not to die.
Yep, sounds like Matt.
Yep.
I'm not sure how, but Rand charges into the battle with the rest of them and then gets transported into a place where Beelzemon is waiting for him. He can still see Falme above and below him like before, but they're alone together. I'm not sure if he has somehow been brought into the world of dreams or a dream shard or a crazy fold in the pattern or what. I'm kind of scratching my head at this point because I'm not sure what Jordan was trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just, yeah. The moment when Rand realizes that Beelzemon thinks Rand blew the horn and that he does not know everything is kind of pivotal. Mm-hmm. It's the first time that he understands that he's not fighting the Dark One. Otherwise, he would know that Matt sounded the horn. He is then able to recognize that Beelzemon is afraid of his sword and that the Dark One would never have been afraid of a sword. And if he's not fighting the Dark One, it's much more likely that he can take whoever this is down. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the fight in the sky. The way Rand's fight and the fight with the Shanchan are linked doesn't make much sense. I really do believe that Jordan was still figuring out his magic rules here, and that's why we don't see anything like this again in the later books.
Yeah. Beelzemon is mocking Rand and asks him if those fools linked to the horn tell him who he was. And Rand thinks to himself, why would they lie? And he finally starts to realize, oh, crap, I am the dragon. It's not just an Aes Sedai trap like he's been claiming this whole time.
Yep.
It's the truth.
Yep. Rand getting stabbed should not have come as a shock to anyone who was paying attention.
No. Foreshadowing by 2x4? What?
Yeah, Lan makes the point to tell him about sheathing the sword when they're leaving Faldara. And Ingtar makes the comment in the previous chapter that it's every man's right, Rand, to choose when to sheathe the sword. Even one like me. Jordan did not try to hide this ending from us, but I do think he executed it well.
Yeah.
I like how it comes full circle with Lan's training being what allows Rand to win the duel. And I love the line that Rand has in response to Beelzemon's demand to serve him. And 1,000 lives I never have. I know that. I'm sure of it. Come, it's time to die. It kind of gives me tingles when I read it.
Yeah, it's good. So Beelzemon stabs Rand with his staff like a spear and gives Rand his never-healing wound in his side. But Rand kills Beelzemon for the second time, so yay team!
Yay!
2 down, 1 to go.
That's it for chapters 46 and 47 of The Great Hunt. Join us next week for chapters 48, 49, and 50, the last episode of Season 2, where we wrap up this book.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you could leave us a positive review, it would really help us out. It makes us more visible so more people can find us. You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com. Tell us all your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon. Is she in the sky with dragons? Yeah, and I'll overlay Demuzak.
Olte. More whiskey.
Although that might be a takeout, like a blooper at the end.
Yeah, maybe. Possibly.